All right, good morning or afternoon or evening, whatever time it is for you. Thank you for coming to or tuning in to the first Atheist and Humanist support group on Camp Arifjan. My name is Will. I'm an active duty 68 Charlie. I'm currently stationed at Camp Arifjan, Kuwait, and I am an atheist in a foxhole, otherwise known as a military atheist. I've considered myself an atheist for a few years now, but it wasn't until recently that I had the courage and the confidence to admit and express that, both to myself and to those around me. It wasn't until recently that I found a community of people who share similar views as I do, who've all had similar issues with religion, and who all arrived at the same conclusion: non-theism. I noticed pretty quickly that there wasn't a community like this anywhere in the military, despite its plethora of both religious and non-religious partners and services. So I wanted to change that. In April 2023, I attended the American Atheist Convention in Phoenix, Arizona, where I learned about MAAF, the Military Association of Atheists and Freethinkers. With their help, I've been able to bring the first atheist and humanist support group to Kuwait. This is a really big deal because this isn't just the first humanist group in Camp AJ or in Kuwait at large, but in all of CENTCOM. I am very happy to be able to kick it off out here and to talk about different organizations that support the atheist worldview. I figured since it's such a new group, I would break down what humanism is for those who may not know or be too familiar with it, and how it differs from other religious preferences. So, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about humanism. So this is the definition provided by the American Humanist Association, and this is essentially what it says. Humanists affirm our ability and responsibility to lead ethical lives of personal fulfillment that aspire to the greater good of humanity. We ground that pursuit not in theism or other supernatural beliefs, but in the best of modern knowledge determined from trial and error and the scientific process. There is one small issue with that definition that will irk a lot of theists. That's the word ethical. Many theistic beliefs will claim that no one can be truly ethical without a higher power in play, that their ability to make ethical decisions and lead fulfilling lives comes directly from their God. So let's take a look at what that word actually means. Oxford Languages defines ethical as this. Should be a pretty straightforward definition relating to moral principles or the branch of knowledge dealing with these. But some theists will go a step further and say, what do you mean by moral in that definition? So I provided that definition as well. Questions like, how do you know what's right and wrong are exactly what morality is. We were all brought up in a modern and civilized society, so we know very well what can build someone up as well as what can tear them down. That brings me to my next point. Who gets to decide at the end of the day what's right and wrong? We do. Rather, we as a society do. The greater good is to the benefit of the public, to more people than oneself, and that's the core principle that humanists want to promote: the general welfare of society. Humanist convictions help support that goal. The first pillar, or conviction, is a dedication to the scientific method, with experience proving it reliable. For humanists, deriving answers through observation or experimentation or rational analysis rules out many possible conclusions to the world around us. Because of this, humanists reject supernatural sources, as well as unexamined dogma or overly simplistic or absolutist concepts of good and evil. Humanists don't simply disbelieve religious explanations, but rather we find those explanations don't stand up to reasonable scrutiny, especially scientific scrutiny. When supernatural claims such as rebirth or divine intervention are confronted with scientific review, it's not only clear that the evidence doesn't support them, but that living with such religiously rooted ideas in our understanding of the world requires either living with severe cognitive dissonance or undoing much of what we've already learned about the world around us and how it actually works. Many religions will explain it away with faith, but to the humanist, faith is just simply bad evidence. Empathy is what links science with what distinguishes humanism as a positive philosophy. Our human history has slowly been moving away from violence and can be explained in part by this virtue. As people came to know each other better with the advancement of cities, transportation, and online communications, we empathetically realize that we all strive to avoid suffering and seek happiness, not just for ourselves, but for others too. Through the cultivation of empathy, we develop a deep-seated compassion for humankind and the world at large. In situations where we have the courage to act compassionately, doing so is just a natural result, both logically and emotionally, and comes from strong feelings of empathy. Such a commitment to compassion might only have small effects on the world around us if it weren't for the accompanying commitment to an egalitarian-based sense of justice and fairness. In other words, treating everyone as they have inherent worth and value. Compassion without egalitarianism is hollow, and this can be seen from Hindus separating each other into castes that were considered less than human, to Christian slave owners in pre-Civil War America. Their version of being compassionate to their slaves was worthless, as long as those seen beneath them stayed beneath them. This twisted sense of morality is not unique to just religious beliefs, as anyone can demonstrate this false compassion in the name of whatever they wanted against whoever they wanted. But approaching this with a humanist reasoning helps us break the illusion of false compassion and promotes egalitarianism. There's still plenty of room for differing outcomes based on intellect, ability, creativity, and hard work, but trying to use other personal characteristics such as ethnicity, culture, or gender as grounds for discrimination against someone is simply insupportable. This brings us to the conclusion that we live on this one world as one people, and should discourage chauvinistic nationalism but support international cooperation. So to rephrase, humanism is a collective mindset held by atheists who strive to make the world a better place, to help more than just ourselves. Or, in other words, humanists are good without God. In the words of Madalyn Murray O'Hair, the founder of American Atheists, 2 hands working can do more than 1,000 clasped in prayer. And that's exactly what humanists strive to portray. So, why humanism out of every other stance you can hold on religion? I'm going to start sounding like a car salesman, but bear with me. Humanists simply want to do good in the world, right? We've already established that. We can say confidently that we don't need a God telling us what to do. We don't need a fear of eternal punishment or harmful dogma like sin or purity culture, and we don't need to make any offerings to a church or to a deity. We don't need any of that just to be kind and helpful to one another. We are living, breathing proof that the claim some theists make, saying that we can't be ethical or moral without a God, is entirely false. And that brings me to my next point. Many religions will try to dehumanize others just on the premise that they have a different belief system. They'll come up with terms like the ones on screen to put us beneath them, giving them the sense of superiority. Phrases like, oh, you don't worship my God, then you must worship the devil, or sinners and infidels deserve, you can enter whatever adjective you want there, usually their version of hell. But this couldn't be further from the truth. While a person's religious doctrine might call us that, it doesn't make us true. We're just human, hence the name Humanist. So that brings me to MAAF, the Military Association of Atheists and Freethinkers. They were founded in 1998, and their long-term grassroots member support continues to thousands of members today, from Japan to Timbuktu, to Italy to Guam, and all over the United States. They offer care packages to military personnel in need and to military supportive atheist and humanist organizations. They actually sent me a package with some of the flyers and buttons that you've seen around post. They are also making inroads with military chaplains interested in reaching out to atheists and humanists. New chaplains are getting rid of the tradition of chaplain hostility that especially is prevalent to atheist perspectives. And it's unfortunately continued happening for a while. Thankfully, chaplains here at Camp AJ have been incredibly supportive of getting this group started, and I can't thank them enough for it. MAAF is even stewarding candidates toward military chaplaincy to set a positive example. MAAF is providing a home for atheists and foxholes, and they're making the military a more friendly home as well, bringing a culture change that is much needed for non-believers. So what's this group for? At the end of the day, everyone needs a support system, especially in a stressful deployed environment. Yeah, I get it, it's Kuwait, we have a pool, we have a Starbucks, but it's still stressful being away from everything that we've ever known for an extended period of time. Many people, for one reason or another, might feel estranged from a religious service. Not everyone needs a God or a higher power to feel supported or capable of accomplishing great things. Atheists are also widely underrepresented in the U.S. military. Even though humanism has been recognized by the DoD for years now, there's still very little chaplain support for it. Various other militaries from around the world have embraced humanist chaplains for over 50 years, but the U.S. is still lagging behind. My hope is that with this group starting, we can bring more attention to that. So here's what to expect over the next several weeks. Many of us might come from a religious background, and so sharing those deconstruction stories, those experiences of how we grew out of them and dealt with any aftermath, can be helpful to those still going through those situations. We're going to talk a little bit about some harmful doctrine, doctrine taught by a lot of religions, including having blind faith on bad evidence, or that we're all inherently bad or evil, purity culture, deciding what curriculum is taught to others, suppressing the views of others. Those are all detrimental to both the individual and to society as a whole. It's important to recognize that people are affected by these doctrines and the harm that they cause to entire communities. With that being said, with very few and specific exceptions, these classes will not be used to target individual theists, no matter their religion. Just because someone may subscribe to those beliefs or dogma does not warrant ad hominem attacks. It's the doctrines themselves that we will address and deconstruct, not the believer. A lot can also be learned from history and what we've seen in current events and how it plays into and changes this ever-changing world. This gives atheists and humanists an upper hand in preventing harmful laws from being passed and the decisions being made on a variety of topics, whether they be political, social, religious, or all the above. Sharing ideas and resources that help each other is incredibly useful, whether they be organizations like MAAF, the American Humanist Association, or Recovering from Religion, or just a podcast that we like listening to, Talk Heathen, the Atheist Experience, Burning Eden. Connecting and bonding over interests is important to showing we're a lot more than simply someone who doesn't believe in a God. To switch things up, we'll hold some nights where we just kick back and watch a movie or a documentary. Being a secular community doesn't mean we can't do that. So I have a few ideas already in mind, but if y'all have any, please let me know. We can throw those in the mix. Hail Satan and Shiny Happy People are already on the list, so anything else you want to add, I'm welcome to hear it. And above all else, having a shared secular community in a stressful environment is ultimately something that's rare to see in the world. Bringing that to Kuwait is an incredible way to kick off a change in both military and in civilian culture. So here's what the agenda will look like. I realize my face is still on the screen, but I'll read it off. First off, happy International Blasphemy Day. This was not planned at all, but I think it's very fitting that the group is starting on International Blasphemy Day. We're going to start October with a lesson of humanist thoughts and decision making. The 10 Commitments by the American Humanist Association and why harm reduction is moral, something that we should all strive for. On the 14th, I have a lesson prepared on the book Why There Is No God by Armin Navabi. It covers different reasons and explanations why someone doesn't just follow a theistic religion, as well as why they don't believe in God at all. It's a really well-written book that covers different claims and arguments made for the existence of God, and certain fallacies that those arguments find themselves in. The following week, we're going to start going over and deconstructing harmful doctrine that are promoted in various religions. We'll kick it off with a speech by Seth Andrews, an American author, activist, and host of the Thinking Atheist podcast and YouTube channel. And then to round out the month, we'll do a little history lesson on the origins of hell in various religious beliefs, including Christian, Islam, Hindu, Norse pagan, Greek pagan, and how it's evolved over time, as well as some of the effects those teachings have on their followers. I have some other lessons and projects in the works, and I definitely want to hear what y'all would be interested in hearing about it. So with that being said, let's talk. I am super excited. I really look forward to interacting with all of y'all and hearing your thoughts on what you want to see from this group. This is meant to be a safe space to express frustrations and share experiences and build a community that's there for one another. Other religions have that, so why can't we? Let's talk. That being said, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming to the first Humanist support group on Camp Arifjan. Again, I am super excited to get this kick started, and I look forward to sharing more lessons with y'all. So thank you again if you tuned in. Have a good rest of your day.